your September meeting. And this was for rezoning of approximately 5 acres out of 434 from residential agricultural to highway commercial for Mr. William Bethay. At the time, according to section 15.1.1 from our current zoning ordinances, there was no designated site plan submitted along with the application, either in sketch form or as a survey. So that was tabled. Mr. Bethay was back at the meeting and did present the proper documentation for a map or sketch on the plan. And upon that presentation to the board, we took a vote, and again unanimously that was approved by the zoning board, and we present that to you for your consideration. And the third item on our business for that day was a conditional use, which is now called special use according to state law, application for Henry Gibson Solar. We listened to presentation and discussion. We asked some questions. This has gotten very usual for us to have solar farms through now, and the presentation met all of the expectations of the board. And I think we may have some representatives here. And if the board has time, if the representatives would like to speak with the board's permission.
We'll have to go through public hearings on each.
We have to go through a public hearing on each of the other two.
Okay. Keep me straight on Robert's rules.
Okay. So on the first one, just recite which one we're going to do first.
This would be for James A. Souls. This was a property located on Elmore Road in Laurel Hill. And this was reverting from highway commercial back to residential agricultural.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request?
I don't see Mr. Souls here.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this request? Mr. McMillan, it is the position of the zoning board to vote in favor of this application.
Yes, it is.
Do I have a motion from Commissioner in regard to this issue?
Move approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Golston to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second item was the previously tabled request for zoning from residential agricultural to highway commercial by William Bethay. This property is located on Leisure Road in Laurinburg. And again, it was the board's wish to present this in our favor in the board's opinion to approve this.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Hearing none. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this recommendation? That public hearing was hereby closed. Is there a motion in regard to this?
I'll move we approve that zoning request for William Bethay on Academy Road.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ivey, a second by Commissioner McFadder. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The third one, Mr. McMillan, and I believe this is the Henry Gibson.
Yes, this is for Henry Gibson Solar, and this property asking to be rezoned is on Henry Gibson Road in Gibson. And I think you have maps with all of these on them. But we do have, as you previously noted, individuals here who'd like to speak on behalf of this project.
Mr. McMillan, I'd like to make a statement before we start.
Sure.
As I was reviewing this package this weekend, I saw that Henry Gibson, saw the petitioners being Jim Cohenauer, Mark Cohenauer, and Thomas Cohenauer, and the light went on. These are my second cousins. Their grandmother and my father were brother and sister. So I called the attorney and said, do I need to recuse myself from this conversation? And he said not only was it not something I had to do, it was something I could not do. But before we had this hearing, I wanted people to know that these are folks that I've known all of their lives, and in regard to Jim Coe and I, are for both of our lives, we're about the same age.
You got no security.
I have no monetary interest in this issue. I assume this is the old Henry F. Gibson property, so I certainly have some sentimental value to that, and glad something's going to be done with that. So that's
I can appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, in conjunction with that, this particular application slightly different from the first two. It's not a rezoning request per se. So the board is actually conducting a quasi judicial hearing, and anyone who speaks will need, other than Mr. McMillan, will need to be sworn in, present evidence.
okay.
Yes, this is again, previously listed as conditional use, but according to the new state law, it is required to be noted as special use permit.
Thank you, sir. And our attorney is very subtly reminding me that we need to swear in witnesses. So if those of you who are going to make presentations here. We will affirm. Okay.
I can't figure out where this land is. I don't need to see it now, Kevin, but yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Michael Fox. I'm an attorney from Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm here tonight representing the applicant. We appreciate your consideration of this request. We do know that you as a board and the county are familiar with solar, so we want to be respectful of your time, knowing you have a big agenda tonight, but we also want to be complete and thorough and answer any questions you may have. So what I might suggest is we'll give you a summary of our presentation and very brief. And then if you have additional questions, we're happy to answer them. With me tonight, I have Christy Weiner. Christy is the development manager for Cypress Creek. They are the developer. Christy can tell you briefly about the project, all the setbacks, how the project meets your code requirements, and how the project is safe and doesn't present any harm to the environment or to any individual. Also have with me Nick Kirkland. Nick is an appraiser, and Nick has prepared a report from Kirkland Appraisers, which is in which he has opined that this solar facility developed as planned would not injure any adjoining properties in terms of value. So, and we appreciate I want to take a chance to say also, we appreciate your staff. Your staff has been great to work with through this process and making sure that we understood what all the requirements and the ordinance was. So they did a great job. So with that, I can turn it over to Christy if you would like.
That'll be fine.
Mr. Fox, I believe the documents you're referring to are part of the agenda package for each of the board members. Are you asking if they accept those documents?
Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson. Please consider that our request that those be entered into the record to support our application. Thank you. Christy?
Hi there. My name is Christy Weiner. Thank you so much for having us today. I'm the project manager for the Henry Gibson Solar Farm. We've been working with the Corps and Hours for, 5-6 years now on getting this project up and going. Duke has had a number of studies, delays, and more studies over the years, but is now finally proceeding to close out what they call their facility study. So they're estimating what upgrades they would need to do to the Laurinburg substation to get that additional power connected to their grid. One of the items that has occurred with their study process is they actually have moved our point of interconnection. So in order to complete the necessary compliance with their study and where they say that we need to interconnect, we've also entered into 2 private easements with landowners for underground electrical line, because the point of interconnection is on Gibson Road and the project is on Henry Gibson Road. But this is all, like I said, on private property and has the necessary agreements to make that occur. Another thing I wanted to say as well is, this is a large tract of land. The final acreage is estimated to be between 40 and 45 acres. That's including all fenced-in area as well. That's inclusive of laydown area of inverters, panels, etc. As we discussed at the planning board meeting, there's all the necessary setbacks to have this compliant with the ordinance. We've also put in quite a bit of effort to reach out to some of the surrounding landowners. I haven't received any questions or concerns in response to my attempts to reach out, but we have included them in the Kirkland analysis of impact or lack thereof to the community. So what we've done as well is we've looked at it as a neighbor and as an environmental impact. As you can see, most of this property is already cleared and used for agriculture historically. So there's really not a whole lot of environmental impact. Definitely no adverse effects to any species, no threatened or endangered species habitat, as well as confirmed by the Fish and Wildlife Services. So we've done a fair amount of diligence on this property, and we believe it's a really, really good location for this low impact, low maintenance use for this property. One other thing as well is we can really monitor these projects remotely. There's not a lot of disturbance or activity required after construction. We monitor these from our control room in Durham. So we can tell, as soon as there's shade on a panel, we can tell that. As soon as one is damaged in a weather event, we can be out there and replace that equipment expeditiously. So like I said, we've gone through a lot of these questions and information with the planning board, and we're happy to answer any that you may have as well.
We will hear from Mr. Kirkland, and then we'll see if there's anybody has questions of any of the three of them.
Hi, my name is Nick Kirkland with Kirkland Appraisals. I'm a state certified general appraiser. I've been accepted as an expert in property value impacts and hearings just like this, like 7 dozen times, many times. At Kirkland Appraisals, we've looked at hundreds of solar farms across the country, and the majority of those have been located within North Carolina. We find that solar farms are most commonly located in areas that adjoin residential and agricultural uses, typically rural areas. And the subject side is very similar to this, with most of the adjoining uses being agricultural and residential uses. Based on this information, it's my professional opinion that the proposed use will be a harmonious use in its location. And furthermore, we've done what's called a matched pair or a paired sales analysis. So this is where we compare a home sale next to an existing solar farm to a similar home that sold that was not next to a solar farm in order to measure for any difference in those sales prices. We have identified approximately 2 dozen within this report that show no impact to the adjoining property value. We've identified many more than that. However, these are the most applicable in terms of location to Scotland County. And based on that information, it's my professional opinion that the proposed use will not impact the adjoining property values. And I would like to say that after the planning board meeting, it was brought up that they would like us to address some additional adjoining neighbors along St. John's Church Road. And so we have provided an updated report that addresses those 2 residences directly west across St. John's Church Road. And consistent to our previous finding of no impact to the adjoining property values, is my professional opinion that those will also not be impacted. Whew, sorry. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Wait.
I was just going to say that will be our presentation unless the board has additional questions. We do feel like we have met the requirements of your ordinance and would respectfully ask you to vote to grant our permit.
Any questions?
I'm just curious that those 2 residents that he was just talking about, why does it have that little indention in that property line? And then also the one up in the corner there at Brown School Road.
Right. So honestly, it's just an odd shape to the parcel line. The highlighted blue is the true property line. So
that is the right line.
Correct. The agriculture property across St. John's Church Road actually extends to the east side of the road, as well as our property on the north extends slightly over that corner. So it's just an odd property line, but we won't be using that northern corner, and we will not be extending to all the way to St. John's Church Road, where the parcel does not actually go that far.
Just a weird line.
Yeah.
And this may not be their question, but I just want to bring up that decommissioning bond again. At some point, we need to cross that bridge, and I'm assuming this one does not have that.
We don't have a decommissioning bond set up yet. I don't believe that was mentioned at the planning board meeting. What we can do, though, is we can provide decommissioning analysis that will show that consistent with all of our North Carolina solar farms, that the salvage value of the equipment that we put on site well exceeds the value
Yeah,
or the cost.
We've heard that, but I just, no, I'm not saying it is required, but
Okay.
this is more to us that
Oh,
we need,
okay.
we need to cross that bridge at some
Okay.
point. So
Any other?
Mr. Fox, do you have a proposed order or some of this board would grant your request that you would want us to adopt? and incorporate?
I did not bring an order with me tonight, but I will be glad to work with you and send you one.
I think that the board has done that before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing no hands and hearing no voices, we will declare the public hearing closed. Pleasure of the board.
Offer motion that we approve the conditional use permit for the Henry Gibson Solar Project.
We have a motion for the special use permit. Conditional use
Second.
permit, now known as the special use permit.
I'll say.
We have a second from Commissioner Ivy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for keeping me straight on Robert's rules. I've got a big note in here to make sure that every agenda item is taken care of.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the good job you do, Mr. Chairman.
Ginger. You want to do Ginger first?
Go ahead and do the number 2. Whatever you want to do.
I think we mentioned to several of you when we opened at 7 o'clock that we have our state auditor with us tonight, and we have put her on our program, wanting to get to her as quickly as we could. So I know she's had a busy day today and was not able to get here before our regular meeting and wanted to be included in our meeting tonight. So we are going to take time at this point to go into closed session, which means we will ask those of you who are here that are not going to be part of this closed session, which is most of you, if you will excuse yourselves from this room, and we will, I will entertain a motion for us to go into closed session. If we go into closed session, it will be for the purpose to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee, or under General Statute, North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, parens A, parens 3, consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body. Is there a motion to go in closed session?
So, second.
Commissioner Alford, and a second by Commissioner McCall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Please come forward.